Hello, and welcome back to Almost Adventures. Today, I'm going to introduce a new series to this channel called Please Come Sit With Me. And as you can see from the title of today's video, we're going to talk about how to bring a dog to the airport. Some of you might think, well, you just, put a leash, put a harness. You walk the dog to the airport. Bam, that's how you take a dog to the airport. I mean, yeah, that works, okay? But not for every dog. Some dogs, they're more sensitive to new environments. They can be a bit uncomfortable. They might be more reactive to different smells, different sounds, different people, different lighting. And so while I was doing research on the internet, I realized that there weren't actually that many information on this topic. So I decided to film a few clips of me bringing Amo to the airport. Because in a few months we are going to move to Sweden. We've been to the airport twice already, and the first time he was doing pretty well because we went when there weren't that many people in the airport, and the second time he was just like, oh my god, I know this place, like when I come here it rains treats, and he was so excited, like 5 minutes away from the airport. In this video I am going to give you a few tips on how you can make the day of your travel a lot more easier if you take your dog in advance to the airport and let them just feel comfortable in the environment that they're going to be in on a very, as I can imagine, chaotic day. So let's get right into it. Before we begin, let me just show you a very cute clip of me mouth feeding my dog. Okay, let's get into it. Tip number 1, why am I doing this? First things first, why am I doing this? Amo isn't really a super anxious dog, and I would say he adapts quite well to different new environments because I take him out so often to, restaurants, to different kinds of shops, in the mountains. We travel overnight, but I know that on the day of traveling, I'm gonna be a nervous wreck, and I don't want his excitement to add on top of that. I want him to go into his crate and be able to relax and have an overall very zen mood when he's traveling. It's gonna be a 16-hour flight. It's gonna be super long. And I don't think that the excitement before him getting on the plane would do him any good. So I want to desensitize him to all the new smells, the people, the environment, the sounds, the lighting, all of those things, so that he is familiar with the airport already on the day of his travel. This is our second trip to the airport, and as you can see, he is still very excited. The first time we took him here, I just showered him with treats for a whole hour, and he associates this place to good things that happen. He knows which door exactly to go to. I would say this time he is less cautious and more excited to see if he's going to discover anything new this time. This is basically the whole purpose of why I'm doing this. I want him to feel relaxed. I want him to associate the airport with good things happening. Tip number 2, things to look out for. So obviously every country has their own rules and regulations. Here in Taiwan, the airport doesn't really say that you can't bring the dog to an airport because not many people do that. You can always ask your dog to go use a loo outside of the airport, and if your dog is a really nervous dog when they go to new environments, I would recommend you to just, stay outside the airport, be familiar with the sounds. There's going to be airplanes passing by. That's also a good thing for the dog to be desensitized to. Let them sniff the environment. I mean, the dogs can pick up a lot of information just by being outside of the airport. So you don't really have to rush yourself in getting all 4 feet in the airport on the first try. Always be respectful to the staff. Bring your pee pads if your dog have the tendency to, pee indoors. Obviously, you should always put your dog on a leash. It is not a dog park. Don't let your dog off leash. I mean, do I really have to say that? It's basic decency. Always keep your eyes on the dog and always check in with the dog to make sure that they're doing okay. If they are feeling overwhelmed, you should take them out to decompress. And if they're getting really stressed over the new environment, then maybe call it a day and come again the next time. The experience should be positive and there shouldn't be any overt stress that is being caused on the dog. Tip number 3, what to bring. other than the harness, the leash, or the collar, if that's what your dog uses. If your dog uses a muzzle, you can also bring a muzzle. I mean, it's no big deal. Other than these basic things, always remember to bring water, because your dog is gonna need it, and treats, a lot of treats. Just bring a lot of treats, okay? And of course, if you worry that your dog is gonna pee indoors, always make sure that you have the pee pads or a plastic bag in case any accidents happen. Oh, and also, chew treat. Always bring a chew treat. You know, it could be any high value treat that you usually don't give the dog. What I do with Amo is that we find a quiet place indoors and I give him the treat so that after all of that new information that's being registered in his cute little brain, he has a way to decompress, to relax, and of course, to make even better associations with the airport. Tip number 4, what to do at the airport. You can just let your dog wander around and let it decide where it wants to explore. What I did with Amo was that I let him sniff as many different surfaces and textures as possible. I even, introduced him to the escalator, which he was definitely not a fan of, but thank God we have an elevator. You can try to train the dog to settle and lay down in a busy environment like the airport. So here we were waiting for my mom to come out of the restroom, and I just asked him to lay down and settle while he observed the passing people, as well as different sounds such as, the PA announcements, the vacuum, the luggage, and loud bangs. He does not like loud bangs. Lastly, you can always find a quiet place or somewhere where there's less people, less movement around, to give your dog the chew treat or the high value treat as mentioned before. You can bring a mat or a dog bed that your dog is usually familiar with. This is to give them a quiet place to just come back to their zen. There shouldn't be a lot of new sounds or people walking by, especially if they're prone to resource guarding. They might actually feel a lot more nervous when they're eating outside. And it doesn't help when there are a lot of strangers walking back and forth. I don't think I recorded this, but Amo was investigating this area that had panels, so he couldn't really see what was behind the panels, and it was the x-ray machine. Someone was just fixing things over there, and there was a loud bang that suddenly happened, and Amo got startled, and then he started barking. I had to take him out immediately, so I took him out, and then, I wanted to do some training with him, but he still wasn't settled. I let him calm down a bit before we walked in again. Tip number 5, after the airport. I would say this is optional, but it's great if you could do this. Bring your dog to a happy place after the airport so they can make the association of going to the airport means something good is going to happen afterwards. I took Amo on a hike on our first trip to the airport, and the second time we brought him to the airport, we didn't go hiking, but rather we went to a dog park on a day where there weren't that many dogs. So he got to run around off leash and just, roll in mud and do all the dog things that he loves. And that's it, guys. Thank you for watching this video. I hope you found the information useful. Please let me know in the comment section if there are any other tips you can provide for Amo and I on our day of travel. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye! I want this all to be crystal clear.